Hello and welcome back to Factorio. Last time we did what we're going to be doing this time. We need a total of 80 G of power storage. Right now, we have like 40. So we need to add, like a quadrillion more of these guys. Now, thankfully, I thought of a genius idea. It's, to put down a couple of these guys. Put down some of these guys, and then put my 100 bots inside. We're not inside the trash slots, but if you do this, they will begin working, and because this is separate from all the other robot networks, they will just work on their own. And while they're doing that, I can start, you know, filling this in. And later on, I can get them to do other stuff. You know, you see, they're charging, they're doing stuff. Then what I can do is, yeah. If you're not aware, we are at a massive power deficit. Like, beyond massive. To call it a massive power deficit would be, like, severely underselling it, I think. I think severely underselling it is also severely underselling it. Like, holy shit. The Edge ship is here. It got what it needed. Now I need it to go to... Now go to Fulgora. Then the Space Item Ferry will go to Vulcanus until all requests are satisfied. And I'm gonna request... What are the items called again? I call them batteries, yeah, accumulators, and order 4,000 from... Yeah, it's not like we don't have the inventory space, come on. And yeah, then afterwards, I'm gonna just tell the Space Item Ferry to, go to Fulgora. I wish there was a way to leave it... to, like, tell it to only go when the requests, well, like, you know, ground request satisfied, when it's already sent everything it needs to send, everything it can send, right? Because, you know, it'd just be kind of nice. Maybe there is a way to do it with circuits, but, you know, because it would be nice to just have, like, a big ship with every part I already need on it. That just goes to a place, drops what it needs to, and then leaves. But doing that is a little bit hard. I mean, that's kind of the reason why I have, like, different ships for everything, right? Like, I have a transfer ship for one place, a transfer ship for another place. It's just by far the simplest way I could think of really doing it. I want to expand it up there, but I can't with all the garbage inside. So, the garbage shall... Well, not this, but the garbage shall go in here as I pick my bots up. And don't worry, we're not going to immediately tell them to build, because that would, you know, kill the bank power I have at the moment. But, never mind, we'll be doing that anyways. Yeah. I'll be doing this, and then I'll delete this portion entirely. Because we are a little bit out of foundations. And getting more is possible, but unfortunately not as easy as you would think, or hope. Because, you know, you have to get them from a very far away place. And that very far away place is, well, let's just say the bus doesn't go there very often. Oh. Okay. So as you can probably imagine, we now have quite a bit more power. How much power? 48. How much do we need, if you're wondering? 80. As you can imagine, plugging in the math into our Casio calculator 48. Wait, how many of these are we gonna need? Well, one of these stores 5 megajoules. We'll round up to 50, so we need 30,000 divided by 5, which means we need to use, like, over 6,000 more of these, okay? Like, you thought late-game Factorio was just, like, you know... Oh, I can just do whatever I want. Well, not on Fulgora. No siree, buddy. Now, you may be wondering, well, why not just run everything off of fusion power? And the answer is because the Fulgora base would really benefit from not having to rely on all unreliable. Not only would I need another ship to make sure that the Fulgora base doesn't explode, but also these things are fucking expensive. I can craft an infinite amount of them, it's fine. Same here, though this one's a lot slower. Okay, how's it going? SEF is still parked here. Oh, it's waiting on everything. What is the issue here? Oh, it actually doesn't have enough speed 3s available. Wonder who took all of them. Is there any more stuff in the system? Which power is there? Almost. Okay, so we need... Ah, yeah, there's still some more, thank God. Okay. But yeah. Thankfully, it doesn't seem that bad, but that's because we aren't, you know... using the full power of the base yet. The reason why we're here is because we need to use the full power of the base. Yeah. Oh, and we are charging again, aren't we? Yeah. I may have made the base pull 700 watts. Because I added a metric fuckton, I think that's the technical term, of production capacity for Holmium, which, as you can imagine, is a bit of a drain on the power system, which was never meant to deal with 20 billion watts of power draw. I know there's not a single efficiency module in the system. I'm sorry. I mean, to be fair, what did I expect? But again, like, you know, to be fair, again, how could have I expected it to draw so much power? Like, I mean, I did make it. I also just didn't expect it to be so damn power hungry. Like, you know, you don't really think about it, but like, first of all, there's a lot of machines here, and one of these machines, one of them, uses 20 megawatts. This entire thing basically uses 650 megawatts to, fill these two up to full. And right now, with all of our might, we are gonna be, like, very, very far from... Even once we completely fill this island up, we are gonna be very, very far from our goal. Actually, the whole reason why I started with this island is because it's kind of close by. The issue I'm gonna run into soon is, there's a lot of space that is not going to be really used for anything except this, so I have to, like, strategically choose which places I want to do this on, and which places I want to leave for other stuff. And even though we are officially out of the things we actually need, I am still gonna place these down for later. Because, I wish there was a way to place them without, yeah, whatever, fucking... Okay. Then we can do, this. Man. If only these could just appear here, but no. The item ferry is just parked above Vulcanus waiting for, more stuff. Well, the airship's nearly here. Oh, we actually have all 4,000. That's not gonna be enough, but for now, it's gonna be fine. Head to the thing now. Now, the airship is back with a lot more of these guys. Go to Vulcanus and, request... Well, how much do we need? Yeah, sure. And now, we can do this again. Except over here, we'll be running into problems. One thing which I've spent maybe a little bit too much time, you know, thinking about is, if you know me, and if you know some of the more, interesting videos I've made, right? Like the, well, interesting to me, like, trying to figure out what was the best way to record stuff like a decade ago, 2 decades ago, whatever. You'd realize I have a pretty big interest in finding out, like how people encoded stuff back in the day, finding out the best ways to encode videos back then, finding out what would have been the best way to record stuff, and just general, like, early YouTube stuff from that perspective. The reason for this interest of mine is pretty simple. I find old YouTube immensely fascinating, and I am kind of jealous that, you know, back then I was obviously way too young to properly partake in it. You know, it was only up until, like, fucking... Honestly, yeah, like, I mean, I've recorded stuff for ages, but from the stuff that has survived the, endless march of time and my own, well, in this case, intelligence, because there's a reason why some of that stuff's nuked. From all of it, I have to say that overall, like, I only properly started to think and learn and understand how this stuff works around, like, the 2020s. That's when I actually, like, thought to myself, you know what, especially when I was locked, because, you know, back before that, I would sometimes make a video when I felt like it suited me, you know, I want to make a video now, so I made one. But then after that, I decided to, you know, make a video or two just for fun, and then I, at one point, realized, you know what, no, I'm gonna just make this, like, I'm gonna just do Let's Play sort of stuff, fuck it. And, a hobby was born, because there were a lot of benefits to this hobby, such as getting myself to interact with parts of games that I, you know, normally wouldn't really do. Stuff like, you know, doing 100% stuff, getting myself to stop skipping fucking cutscenes all the time, that sort of stuff. Because when I'm playing on my own, I, like, maybe listen to something and I'm talking with people, so I don't really want to watch a cutscene. And, it's a really nasty habit that, I don't like that I have, so, you know, doing it for YouTube incentivizes me not to do that, because not only am I ruining the game for myself, but also for everybody watching. But, yeah. If I was somehow my same... Like, you know, the dream would, in theory, be, obviously not in practice, but, you know, if I was somehow my current self, or, like, even myself, like, a few years ago, I could have probably done quite well on old YouTube. And this was kind of where my journey started, where it was a question of, was it really just a skill issue, or was there more to this? And the answer is, it was just a skill issue. People didn't know because people didn't know, because they didn't have the skills to. And as funny as it is to say, you know, but what can you really do? I mean, you know, obviously it's one of those things where, very clearly, to my best knowledge, there's no time machine. So, realistically, I mean, you just sit here, scratch your ass, and think to yourself, wow, if only I could go back in time. But then it's like, you know, then we get into the fucking turning red memes. You know, if you go back in time, maybe the priority should be worrying people, you know, should be warning people about incoming events, you know. You come back and you're like, ah, finally, I can be the YouTuber of my dreams. And then you forget to warn people about 9/11. How would they even believe you? All of these, that's like the funny time travel stuff. I find a lot of the time when people talk about time travel stories, they focus on like the minute details way too much. I think, like, if you want to do, like, a time travel thing, I think there's a lot of value in making it a fucking comedy. Because there is a lot of, like, there is a lot of comedy to be had in an incompetent time traveler who goes back in time for, like, you know, selfish reasons. Maybe you could go back in time to just tour, you know, maybe it was some guy who just wants to go on a world tour of ancient history or whatever, right? But then he goes back in time, and every single time he, like, you know, doesn't warn people or whatever, because, you know, he just kind of watches it. I guess in a way, you aren't allowed to, right? Cause if you warn people about, you know, it's the butterfly paradox or whatever, the butterfly effect, where you go back in time to warn people about an event, then the event is mitigated because you warned people, but then, because you warned them, the event doesn't happen. So you never have a reason, you know, to go back in time and warn them. And because of that, you know, you never go back in time and warn them and the event happens, so you know, so in a way, it is kind of horrifying that, the only way you could realistically time travel is, if you could imagine, like, being in a bubble. Like, you know, all that you could do, you'd be like the guy from Blade Runner, but instead of, like, looking through whatever, you're, like, looking at the fucking, you know, you're watching the United Airlines flight that's gonna be hijacked take off, knowing that, like, you will die if, you mention what's about to happen due to, you know, time travel shenanigans. Honestly, maybe time travel is less of a comedy and more of, like, horror. Because there is a lot of, like, truly terrifying stuff with, you know, I guess the feeling of being powerless. Or I guess the knowledge that if you use the knowledge that you have, everything will fall apart. Like, you know, forbidden knowledge, basically, I guess. It's interesting to think about, but back to the original thing I was saying, that's kind of why I never think about it in terms of time travel necessarily. I like to think about it more like, you know, if I was my age back then, you know, that sort of stuff. But then you get into a similar butterfly paradox, or, you know, whatever, butterfly effect, where you go back in time to do stuff, but then you sort of like, you know, a lot of the time, your interest for doing something will come from that thing's popularity in the modern era. If you know, the reason why I want to do something like I wanted to do something like YouTube was because I saw a lot of other people do it, but, would I be as interested if this was, like, you know, before YouTube, and those people never actually, you know, existed on the platform up until that point? would I have different inspirations to do the same thing if we would assume that, I would always have a knack for, like, you know, I would always have an interest in this sort of stuff. Like, you know, speaking, talking, playing games, that sort of stuff, right? Like, would I maybe develop differently? Would this happen? Would that happen? A lot of questions with, non-existent answers maybe for the best. But, I don't know. But it's kind of like, you know, how people are asked who would win in a fight, them or, like, an extremely dangerous wild animal, and, like, so many men think they can take on a fucking bear, which... Sure, buddy. Like, barehanded. But no, I mean, like, nothing in the hands, not you have bear claws. But yeah. Like, to be clear, like, a Homo sapien in his, like, hunter-gatherer prime versus a bear, questionable outcome. Many Homo sapiens against one bear, like, I guess multiple Homo sapiens against one bear, the bear is gonna fucking die. But, just having, like, one modern-day dude of questionable fitness go up against a fucking bear, like, barehanded, you're not winning. There's a reason why, like, you know, there's a reason why... it's kind of funny, right? The moment, we invented guns, like real guns, like not experimental big-ass cannons, but like a blunderbuss, right? That's when the forest became a lot less scary. That is because the first thing that the villagers did with the blunderbuss was go into the forest with some dogs and shoot at any of the previously, you know, dangerous animals that predated on humans. Because a lot of people forget carnivorous animals would, generally speaking, eat you. And it's kind of funny, people are afraid of sharks more than they are of bears, but that's because a shark is like, you know, a fish, and a bear, like, there are so many bears in media. Like, BigClive.com, but even from animals, like, a lot of the time, bears are portrayed a lot more favorably than sharks, even if sharks literally... Like, of course, you know, a shark can eat a human, sure, but, a shark eating a human is kind of like a human eating grass, if you get me. Like, we don't have the necessary nutrients in our bodies that sharks need, and because of that, sharks don't actually recognize you as food. There's some stuff about that. I'm sorry if some of this information isn't fully correct, but it was something like this. But yeah, generally speaking, remember, sharks are friends, dolphins are heartless monsters who would sell you out for, like, well, anything, really. Dolphins are fucking evil. And I do mean fucking evil. Like, seriously evil. They only get a free pass because people think they're cute or whatever, but, like, you can't hide from me. Like, people are like, you know, fucking, if there was... Because, you know, it's always like, oh, well, animals obviously eat people. Like, listen, dolphins are like, let's just say more evil. Same with orcas. Honestly, this is a mammal thing. Maybe this, yeah, I don't know. This is also partially just like a general mammal thing where, out of all the creatures, mammals are generally the more intelligent ones, and therefore the ones that are gonna do, like, more evil stuff. Because if you're not aware, if you're, like, you know, really stupid, like if you're a snake or something, your capacity to do evil is greatly diminished, even if the capacity to do harm obviously isn't. Like, you know, you're a snake, you can strangle a guy to death, or you can, like, poison him. if you're of the venomous variety, I guess, whatever. You know. Why are they called venomous if they poison? You know, why are they called venomous if they poison you? They should venom you. Just like that guy from the movie. But, like, you know, I don't know. I just don't like dolphins, okay? I will post hoc justify my hate for dolphins. But yeah, I mean, memes aside, except the dolphin hate, that's mostly true. People don't understand the danger wild animals pose. What are they talking about? I don't fucking mean. I'm doing Factorio. But yeah. Generally speaking, there's not that much to say on the old YouTube topic that isn't, like, just doing more testing with random gear to figure out how well it performs, but, it's so interesting to me, man. It's just, like, he could have done so much back then. Even with the relatively basic equipment. It's just that people didn't know how to. And I'm aware, right, like, I am aware that, you know, YouTube back then was also very different, but I don't know, man. You could have had, like, even before YouTube, like, you could have had so many videos already ready for YouTube, but, you know, that's, just data storage in general. Data hoarding is an expensive hobby. If you've ever seen, like, the subreddit for it, you'll see that, you know, hard drives are expensive. Like, if you go on PC Part Picker, 20 terabytes these days is like $250, but back in the day, like, early on, like, a single DVD was something like, you know, a single DVD was just a couple bucks, right? But a single simple DVD is only like 4.7 gigs. Let's say more like actually 4.5 once you get into that. That is really not much for, like, data storage, if you think about it. Like, if I would give an example, like, fuck. One of these videos, which is like an hour of content, right? With the advanced sort of features. When the video is, like, rendered and done, one of these videos is, thanks to AV1, like, a little under 1 gigabyte large. We can check. I have multiple unuploaded videos. When the video is processed and rendered, sadly YouTube does kind of hurt the quality, but yeah. Oh, so, like, the last episode, which was, a little bit over an hour, was 1.5 gigs. And, that video's average bitrate... Oh, that's really low. Wow, that is kind of good. Yeah, but, if we would be working with some of the benchmarks I had before, you would be looking at around, let's say, 4.5, megabits per second, which, for those who don't know, is roughly, let's do 600... Yeah, let's say 600 kilobytes per second. So if we take the full DVD size and, like, DVD size, and divide that by 0.6, we get 7.7... Hold on, let me just then... We basically get a little over 2 hours. So you can imagine, if you're trying to play games... Of course, in that video, I went over a bunch of different formats. It's the one where it's like, you know, the earliest potential let's play, whatever. The video didn't do well at all because the topic is just so incredibly fucking niche. And for the people who did click on it, I kind of gave them the, like, real explanation, I guess, in the very beginning, and then the rest of the video was going over, like, how it could have been potentially done for kind of cheap, which maybe wasn't what a lot of people were interested in, because they were only tangentially interested in it, but, you know. Point is, a lot of the time, when I look into this sort of stuff, the big issue is not could it be done, but the price. When we were talking about early, high-quality recordings, the issue was always, you know, it was just expensive. Then when in 1997 you could get an actually cheap MPEG-1, like, hardware encoder, so you could record stuff that's, like, in 240p, in good quality, that was a breakthrough. Then the problem was actually storing all of that data. Because if you can imagine, storing, like that 1997 thing, that was still, at worst, 3 megabits. That's still a lot. And that, like, you know, back early on, you would have to use CDs, which were also kind of cheap. But, like, you could imagine high-quality recordings, you could only keep, like, a pretty limited amount of those. Like, you could maybe have, like, 30 minutes of particularly high-quality recordings in one thing. It's complicated. Huh. Oh, that's bad. How much? I'm gonna go back and get some more foundation. Do we have any? We don't. And the edge ship is over here. Okay, we don't need more of these yet. Go all the way to Aquilo. And request, like, as much foundation as you can carry. How is Aquilo even doing? Has any more of this stuff been made? No. Why? The ATS is at Gleba. Waiting for Carbon. Oh no! Carbon broke again. Because this isn't coming in. Because... Wait, why isn't this... Because the seeds are full. So this isn't making any of the mash. Which then means it can't... Okay, that's annoying. So, pretty please, I need you to place down, like, a bunch of these again. Don't worry, the problem will be fixed with enough time. That explains everything. Anyways, now that that's doing its thing, we'll see what we can do. Yeah, but generally we are fucked. There's no more foundation. So we're gonna have to just ignore the box exploding for now. But as I was saying, the big issue was you just couldn't store all of the, you know, you just can't store all of the stuff. I mean, you can, but it would cost you, like, if you would imagine, you know, you're playing this sort of stuff. Worst case scenario, some of this stuff could cost you, like, $100 per month. Which, I mean, if you have a decently paying job, you know, that's nothing, but... Well, not nothing, you know, depending on when you are living, but, you know. Like, that's not an impossible task, but still, it's, And we wouldn't need to fill every single tiny little area, but, you know. It's just difficult, you know? And that's kind of the gist of a lot of the early recording stuff. It was definitely possible, it's just fucking file sizes. They're the true enemy. What do I need? I need this, this, and... I already have everything I need to make them. Am I making... Yeah, okay, we need some of you. I'm gonna go around and pick some of this stuff up. Let me get some... Yes. And a bit of steel. There we go. We still need more iron sticks. That sucks. We'll get them from over here somewhere. Where there are... Whatever. Yeah, iron sticks and let's go. So, but yeah, it would be expensive, though, again, not impossible. And I am, if you can't tell, a pretty big fan of the retro sort of, I guess, older YouTube stuff. But, in a way, for some of this stuff, it is kind of crazy to, see when they were topical. Like, if you can imagine, you know, I think I may have played San Andreas back when that game was, you know, actively topical or whatever. But, I was pretty young back then, so maybe not. I don't know. What I do know is that, fuck, regardless of if I had done that or not, I do not remember a time when it was like the, you know, it's not like I remember the time, kind of like when GTA 5, if you remember, like when GTA 5 was new, people already theorizing about GTA 6. The community obviously is like a fluid thing, so it keeps changing. You probably remember those funny videos where people were like talking about how they have GTA 6, like, and this was like in 2017 or whatever, you know? Because people were excited. Back then, GTA 4 came out in 2009, and GTA 5 came out in, like, what, 2013 on consoles, so maybe GTA 6 was just around the corner, you know? Just a week away, woohoo. But that's what you get. You got a lot of those kinds of videos back then, and it is kind of funny to think about. Oh, right on time, it seems. But as much as I would love to say, you know, that back in the day, things were different. Now, hoaxes always existed. Come on, remember Bigfoot? I'm aware that a lot of people have a lot of really fond memories of San Andreas like I do. But man, I don't know. It's a shame that Bigfoot wasn't actually real, most of all. I remember watching all those videos where people kept trying to find if, like, cryptids were real. And then, like, if you go onto the fucking cryptid wiki of San Andreas, because, of course, that's the game which has all the cryptids. The modern games don't have shit, while, like, 4 had a Ratman, and, like, 5 has some random, like, shitty monsters, but, nothing as cool as, like, Bigfoot. I made an old video, which I may remake one day, where I was talking basically about how, because of the... I don't want to use the term lower quality, but because of the lower fidelity of a lot of these games, like, you know, of the PS2 era, a lot of things had to be done to get them to run, you know? You had to lower detail here, lower fidelity there, and the end result was games that looked kind of, maybe a little bit off even, if that, you know, you could argue. And because of that, a lot of the time, you know, when developers would talk about, you know, the video game stuff they were working on, a lot of the time when you saw GTA, it was in very specific angles. You didn't see everything. The point was, like, the point of what I was trying to say is, like, developers, when they would be showing these stuff in trailers, would often show you them from, like, the best possible angle. And when you actually get into the game, it would look notably different. But not in a negative way. But the result would still be that what you end up getting is a little bit different from what you may have wanted. And in GTA's case, what you ended up getting was a world that seemed in many ways a lot emptier. Uh-oh. Quickly, there we go. And, I mean, that's fine. That's, you know, whatever. However, because the world seemed so much emptier, if you could imagine, a lot of the time, people wouldn't... Well, they wouldn't see shit, but they would assume that something may be out there, because... You know, why would Rockstar have this big world and just let it be so empty? That's when rumors of something like Bigfoot started, or Pigsy is my favorite because he was from Manhunt. So, you know, people assumed Pigsy was real. Oh shit, that... okay, I have to run back and fix that. And generally speaking, you know, as stuff progressed further and further, you ran into issues with, you know, where people assumed Bigfoot was real, but he wasn't. Then Rockstar said he wasn't, but that was only more evidence to him being real, because obviously, why wouldn't Rockstar lie about it? This is a conspiracy, blah, 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 and eventually, you know, you have the modern sort of GTA semi-myth hunting, a lot of kind of cool discoveries. Then some of the myth hunting YouTubers kind of spec'd a little bit more into lore, because they realized that the GTA universe actually has a lot of interesting story-related stuff about it. Blah, 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 blah. And eventually, we are where we are right now, where the San Andreas scene is mostly just kind of dead. Because if you can believe it, the game is old enough to where... Like, okay, granted, I'm gonna, like, upload LP stuff about it, because I'm me. But generally speaking, like, for most people who do relevant stuff, GTA San Andreas is about as far from relevancy as you can realistically get from a lot of games. It's just old. There are these, sort of cycles of relevancy, you know? It's kind of like how some... I don't know. You know, GTA San Andreas isn't that relevant anymore, but, you know, it was at one point in time, and I feel like it's gonna have a similar, you know, cycle as something like, the NES stuff. Because, you know, back in the 2000s, sorry, like, back in the 80s, right? People did like the old games, so people were like, okay, yeah, I want to play this, I want to play that, and then... The All-Stars collection came out, and people were excited to play that. Nintendo was proud to showcase their old stuff, but then... You know, time goes on, and they're like, okay, let's now show them other stuff, other games, but people wanted to, you know, get more Mario. But that was partially because, you know, it went more from, hey, remember these old games, to, hey, I'm nostalgic about this specific period in time. And I feel like that nostalgia isn't quite there yet for some people in terms of the 6th gen of stuff. It's kind of like, you know, partially the sort of curse of stagnation that we have. Because, believe it or not, games stopped evolving when, similarly to, you know, a lot of stuff, things stop evolving when they find a form that works really well. And with video games, you know, that's, I guess, kind of why there's a lot more 5th than 6th gen nostalgia. People just kind of got used to how things are. Like, I'm aware that, you know, people are like, yeah, the fucking next year, The PS2 will be, you know, however old, but the PS3 will be 20 next year. This year, the 360 is turning into a 20-year-old system. And, like, you know, whatever. People still claim they're not retro. Why? Well, because they just don't feel retro. They don't pass the vibe check. Because the vibe check for if something is retro isn't just when it came out, but how it feels. And if you've caught on to what I've been saying this entire time, a lot of these games still feel modern when you play them. Granted, maybe some mechanics of San Andreas are outdated compared to, you know, fucking 5. But compare GTA 3 to 5 and GTA 2 to 5 and tell me which one's more different, you know? It's just that big kind of gap. I feel like, yeah, I feel like the 7th generation of gaming was like the beginning of the decline of console stuff generally. Mainly because a lot of the time things got more consistent but also more boring. If you can imagine, console exclusives are bad for the consumer. Being forced to buy a specific box to play specific games is kind of sucky. However, even though it is sucky, there is a benefit to it for the companies, and it is that, well, let's just say Nintendo's consoles sell well because of the Nintendo games. And that's where you kind of start seeing, you know, the picture. Why does Nintendo do so well? Well, I don't know. Probably because of the games. But, you know, to do that is also kind of anti-consumer, so you have to do this dance where, like, you know, Sony does the dance where simultaneously they bring their stuff to other systems because there's an incentive actually for both. Microsoft is just, like, stripping every single thing they buy for parts, I guess, so they don't really count as a gaming studio anymore. I know this is gonna piss some people off, but, like, come on, man. They're fucking, they're just, they're like, over at the Microsoft headquarters, they're ripping the copper wire out of walls to buy more AI with. But, you know, and generally speaking, Nintendo's the only company who actually still does the exclusives. And maybe that is why, a lot of the 7th gen stuff started to feel less special. It's because, like, a lot of the systems, like the, you know, PlayStation and especially the Xbox, kind of, it was the last generation where these things still had an identity, I guess. You know, and then, like, you know, the 8th gen, less of an identity, the 9th gen, even less of an identity, up until, like, how long will this go? I mean, the Xbox brand is selling really poorly. They've sold, like, under 30 million consoles. That's awful. How long are they gonna survive at this rate? Well, they're doing everything as an Xbox, very clearly, you know, something smells fishy at Xbox HQ, and it's that Xbox is, it's kind of funny. For a while, people were debating if Xbox was gonna exit out of the console race, and, well, the answer is no. Because, if you haven't caught on, the R&D costs to make a console aren't actually what sinks the business when you're trying to make them. It's actually a lot of the other stuff. However, Xbox knows that if the Steam Deck is profitable at however many units it sells, and it's also really not a lot, I'll have to get more of these. Okay. You know, it makes sense that they would also be safe if they had a similar model to the Steam Deck, where they're actually, you know, just basically being a distributor or whatever. And all the Xbox is a third party, like on the 3DO, which worked out really well for the 3DO company. That's why they're still around making consoles to this very day. Except that didn't happen and they went under because the business model had the unfortunate side effect of making things more expensive than the competition because you couldn't subsidize the cost of your consoles, you know, by selling games, because the idea was to do that. You know, because all the companies that made the consoles just sold the consoles. And granted, you know, you can go the Nintendo way. I mean, gaming handhelds as they are right now, that are on the Switch 2, have to make a profit, because when you buy the, you know, when you buy the Steam Deck, you still, you know, Valve still makes a profit. Maybe not a huge one, but they still do make one. When you buy an ROG Ally, if Asus doesn't get a profit that way, they're just losing money. You know, and generally speaking, losing money is bad for business. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. And I mean, you know, what can you really say about it? It is maybe funny to laugh at what's happening at the moment to companies like Xbox, but at some point you gotta realize, you know, this is gonna happen eternally, forever. The only solution, really, is to let companies like, you know... The only solution is to just sometimes leave them alone, let them do the exclusive stuff, but... I don't know. The issue basically is companies need to be left alone, but not by us. No. The real thing harming companies throughout all of this, the real reason why they're focusing on such fucking brainless things is because, well, they have to appease the higher-ups and the shareholders, who don't know what the fuck they're doing. Like, that is genuinely, if you've been following gaming, the number one thing ruining video games is not, like, some random, you know, cultural bullshit where people are gonna be like, oh, must be the women. No, it's the, well, it may be a woman. Some say, some may say... Jesus. Some may say that the final person to sink Xbox into the ground could one day maybe be a woman. But, the issue is that, the problem are the shareholders. A lot of the time, believe it or not, a lot of the companies that are bought out to make, like, garbage, you know, live service shit, like, the issue that Sony and Microsoft have been having is, well, the issue that Sony specifically has had is that they will hire companies who make normal good games and make them do live service garbage. However, the issue is that just because it's a, you know, a company that has a pedigree of making good games doesn't mean that they're going to make a good live service game. Because the difference between a good game and a good live service game, for those who aren't aware, is that a live service game kind of needs to be designed in a very specific garbage way in order to make you spend money on it, while, you know, in order to attract players, and to, like, actually get that, you need to be kind of quick in a way that is really hard for a lot of these companies now. Like, everyone remembers what happened to, fucking Concord. But, the reason why, Concord failed was, simply put, because the company who made it made an Overwatch clone right at a time when Overwatch 2 was, like, you know... They basically made a competitor. I guess to put it in perspective, this would be like, you know, Xbox making Blinks the Cat on the 360 to compete with Mario, you know? Or like, what's like a genre which just isn't popular anymore? This would be like, I don't even know. But it's just like, people don't care. It's like if, fucking Angry Birds came out in 2025. People have sort of just, you know, moved on. And that's kind of it, you know? That's what we're gonna be seeing for a while from now on, because, believe it or not, a lot of these companies are really stupid. A lot of them are gonna keep doing stupid stuff. And you know what the solution is? The solution is to, well, watch from a distance, and hopefully after imploding enough times, the shareholders grow a brain, but, I don't think it's gonna come soon enough. Now, of course, alternatively, people may suggest some, like, loppy shit, like, you know, whatever, but it's not gonna really happen, especially not to the game industry. Like, if really big regulations get passed, it's probably, like, especially if the stop killing games stuff gets passed, or I guess stop destroying video games, not stop killing games, they're different things, but if that actually does get passed, which we can only hope that the EU, who promised us they would look into it, we did collect a bunch of votes, it would be a really nice gesture for them to follow up on their word, but, I'm not holding my breath for it, especially when there's, like, such a massive corporate effort trying to stop us from literally everywhere. Like, you have people coming out of, like, random, you know, whatever the fucks, trying to badmouth the entire initiative and everyone who's, you know, signed it. They're trying to, you know, you have people whose entire business model, you have internet personalities whose entire business model relies on that live service money, and then they run up and they're like, actually, guys, you should not support the Stop Destroying Video Games initiative. It's totally bad, you guys. Please don't notice that I am, like, you know... Please don't notice that I'm, like, the CEO of a company who does the exact things that you want to stop. This isn't influencing my opinions on this even slightly. Why are you looking at me that way? You know, and that's the thing you're gonna have to understand, right? There's a massive vested interest by big companies with a lot of money to make sure that, you know, video games stay fucked. That video game companies stay, you know, as powerful as they are, that they can kill anything at any point in time whenever they want without any recourse that you can do. And they want to do that forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And daring to, you know, try to stop them, well, be ready for some fucking corporate bullshit, because in the corporate world, I mean, you've seen it. Probably. It's kind of like the difference between rich and poor people, where, like, you know, the worst thing that you can do is piss off somebody who's, you know, both rich and crazy. Because, you know, a lot of the time, sometimes people will just... I mean, it's kind of memed on when it happens in the news, but you've probably seen, like, stories of, like, you know, two rich people break up, and then, like, every single day, one of the people sues the other person for something stupid. Or whatever. Because, keep in mind, you know, companies have the resources to, make threats or whatever the fuck. Especially companies who would be severely hurt by, stop killing games, because companies will be hurt by this, because forcing companies to not abandon their software, you know, forcing a company to not dump lead into the water supply is going to hurt its bottom line. And the thing is, It should. You know, we shouldn't be trying to find a way to not hurt a company's bottom line while we're stopping them from, you know, it causing harm. To be clear, I have no connections to the actual initiative. I am just a signatory. But the point is, like, you know, when I say we, I'm referring to everybody who's signed it, because we are all trying to get to the same end goal. The end goal of stopping games from being killed. We can only hope that good comes from it, and we can only hope that the people who are, you know, trying their best to, you know, shut an parade, to try that... You know, people who are trying their best to give us a bad name for the sake of, you know, protecting their own business interests. At the very least, so that they get exposed for what they're doing, you know? In these, you know, in today's day and age, even really getting somebody, you know, getting consequences for their own actions is, kind of difficult. Consequences in the modern day are very rare. Unless you're poor. If you're poor, then they happen, but, these are companies. They're not exactly like average Joe. So, sadly, yeah, I don't know. But even so, like, you can be doomer about it. Like, I mean, what I've said was nothing but doomer, but hey, I'm still supporting the initiative, and I think that's the most important part. Like, I guess there's a difference between, you know, doing it still out of spite, and just rolling over and accepting, oh yeah, nothing will change. Because to accept nothing will change ensures there's no way anything can change. Like, you know, the only way you can do anything is even try to change it with small steps, I guess, and, like, you know, that's kind of how things have worked historically. If you actually look at history, very rarely did, firstly, very rarely do big events happen on their own. You know, there are often years and years and years of other stuff that are often glossed over in, like, you know, for instance, my favorite example of this is, like, the French Revolution, where everybody talks about, you know, the big event, storming of the Bastille, but what people forget is that well before the French Revolution, you know, things were happening already. What's the issue? 115 out of 192, okay. Uh-oh, I think I did some math wrong. But yeah, like, oh wait, then this guy is also gonna be, yeah. Uh-oh. But yeah, we now have enough power draw to, I guess enough power to do what we want. Oh yeah, this is not enough. We need to lower this to, oh, and I think maybe one of these wasn't working. I don't know. Once this fills up, it should start working properly. But yeah, like, generally speaking, what is there to even say anymore with a lot of this stuff? Shit's fucked, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, next up in the next video, whenever that is, what I'm gonna be doing is we already have, like, the first 2 steps. Now we just need to get the other stuff. We need to, make a bunch of supercapacitors. We have to make a bunch of superconductors. And with the accumulators we're already making, but we're gonna have to make a lot more of, we're gonna make more science packs. And I guess other stuff as well. But that's obviously for later. Anyways, to really quickly do, like, I just have to see. I'm gonna copy over some of these guys, like 1-1. Obviously, the power demands are gonna be mortifying. However, to do some quick math, so one of these is O1 and O4. Specifically, I want to... Oh, yeah, we have to make holmium plates as well. Yeah, like, if you look at this, one of these requires 0 0.5. We are making 800 electrolytes per second. Now, when we give one of these guys 4 of them... Actually, I'm just gonna... temporarily, because, yeah, my bot network is turned off. If I power one of these up with 4, and I'll move this guy down here. Yeah, that's 0 0.5 per second. Oh, because these aren't powered. Okay, so that is 6.5, and, okay, so only this is 6.5. So if we're making, let's see, yeah, 26 times 32, 832 divided by 6.5, we would need 128 of these, and one of them pulls, a lot of megawatts. I think we're gonna need fusion power, and a lot of it if we want to have the base not explode. Is this the only use for electrolytes? I guess we also need it for this, so no. Yeah, I guess we also need it for the labs. How much, for this we don't have to really bother. How much do we need it for you? Oh, yeah, we need a lot. 16.2. So there's gonna be some kind of ratio here. We'll figure it out eventually, I hope, but... Yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.